Hey everyone, it is me, Dr. Dylan Peckus here, and I have a very special guest, James, who we've been working with him for just a little bit. Well, feels like a little bit in some ways because time really flies, but I think months is a is a more the better depiction of that time span. And as we know, it's very sleep apnea is very demotivating, not only because you're tired all the time, but also it's like, what, here are your options. And if you don't want 6 surgeries and a tube that you had to like basically marry and wrestle an alligator all night, it can be defeating. So that's why I like to, share the stories of people who have made it through, defied all the odds, and are now on the other side of this and doing much, much better. So thank you, James, for joining us here today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Of course, of course. Let's go ahead. When you first started to notice sleep issues, when did you start to notice like something was off? Like your sneaking suspicion of like, I think I have an issue with my health.
Well, I went on a trip with a bunch of friends and a bunch of guys, and so we all slept in a room, and they complained about my snoring, and so that's when I first realized there was a problem. And then uh, when I got married, um, my wife said, "You got to do something about this," and so uh, I checked into it. And actually, one of the first things I had done was they removed what is the glottis or whatever is at the back of your throat.
Hmm.
And so the surgeon did that. And, he said that'll help, but you really need to lose some weight, blah, blah, blah. And and I wasn't good about losing weight. But then they put me on the CPAP, and I've probably been on a CPAP for probably about 12, 13 years. And, uh, and then I happened to see, you're an advertisement for you guys. And I'm 76 now. And, it said, well, it could take, my age, it could take, 1 to 5 years off my lifespan. And I'm going, I just want the rest of my time to be, well spent and, healthy. And so, I started looking into your program, and uh, the most important part was uh, that you had like the coaching, and you had like weekly, action steps and all that, and a lot of programs, they tell you where you're at and you need to do something. Here's the goal, but they don't help you through the process. And yours was very process oriented, so I was real interested in that. So,
Awesome. So you had the snoring, and then like, what else? Because very often it's not just snoring, whether it was fatigue during the day, difficulty concentrating. What were some of those other like other things that maybe you pinned it on? What were those other red flags you saw?
well, probably the biggest thing was my lack of energy. Like, I retired back in 2013, at the end of 2013, and once I retired, um, I started to notice that I started taking naps in the daytime, which I'd never done, and um, just felt a fair amount of fatigue where I didn't want to do anything. And those were that was significant. So
Mhm.
uh, that was the thing that I noticed most. Um, and then I had to take sleeping pills to help me sleep, and that kind of thing. So I'd say those were the big things.
What were some of those things that like used to be easy, but either you were too tired for or became like a huge chore for you?
Well, yeah, over time, uh, probably the biggest thing I noticed when I retired, I bought some rental properties to keep myself busy, and I worked on them myself, and uh, I just noticed, I didn't have the drive to be doing everything I needed to do, and and then uh, a lot of my kids live out of town. And so, a lot of times I'd want to go see him, but I wouldn't have the energy to drive a couple hours. And, I was disappointed by that. And, I had grandkids and, I'm still very young and I wanted to see them at their fun age and, spoil them, and all that.
What were those worries you were having around your health, like in I mean, basically your quality of life?
Yeah. Well, I had always, I had wanted to be active when I retired, and I had plans. Um, I enjoyed doing ministry and that kind of thing, and then for a lot of that stuff, I just, I didn't have the energy that I needed to do the things I want, and I knew something was wrong. I didn't know quite. I didn't associate it all with sleep apnea and the CPAP, but I kind of assumed it was just getting older, but you
Hmm.
know, it's not really that.
Like, what were some of those main things the doctor was telling you that was like, oh, okay, this is like a bigger deal than I thought it was, or like, oh, this is a problem. Like, what were some of those initial things you heard there?
Uh, well, the only thing they talked about was trying to help me open up my airway and, and losing weight. There was, they didn't have any other solutions. And, they would do that and, give you a CPAP and, be on your way.
Hmm.
And so it was like the CPAP was supposed to solve everything.
And you did the CPAP for a while and you were using it. So, like, how tired were you still despite surgery plus PAP therapy?
Well, I was still, uh, tell you what, the last about 3 years, I got really tired. And it was like, I was taking a couple naps in the afternoon and, just wanting to sit around. And I'd never been like that. And, so I knew I had to do something, but I didn't know what.
Do you remember Facebook, Instagram, YouTube?
Yeah, I think it was Facebook.
What were some of those other thoughts of where you're like, all right, I think there's something here. Like what turned that interest into action and like actually pursuing this approach?
Well, I think you had a little book you could get, and I forget if I bought it or it was free or whatever. But when I read through it and, saw that you had quite a multifaceted approach and, uh, you monitored your clients as they went through the process, and we got feedback on a weekly basis, and we had opportunities to talk with you, Dr. Molly or Lisa, almost daily. It was like, I was just impressed. And, the other thing was that, from what I read in your advertisement, it was like, at my age, it was going to cost me, years off my life. to continue with now it's the APAP. But so I said, okay, it's time to do it.
What were some of those initial signs, whether it was improvements or like just even having a plan? Like what were some of those signs? You're like, all right, I'm on the right path. We're getting out of this. What were some of those signs for you?
Mm. I like doing the breathing exercises because I knew I had to do, you explained that very well. And so that was important. And I kept up with that. And then I saw my uh, relaxed pause go from like 15 seconds. It was gradual and, it was gradually going up. So I knew things were, getting better. And then along with that, uh, the posture corrections, changes, adjustments. Uh, like I'd always, I was an accountant, worked in front of a computer all my life, and I had terrible posture and hunched over looking at the screen, and so for me to straighten up and put my shoulders back, um, I noticed that when I was walking. Uh, Instead of looking down at the sidewalk like I normally did, I would be looking straight ahead. And I'm going, and it eventually became where, I felt it felt normal. And I liked that. Um, so I knew things were going well there. And the other big thing initially was the uh, logging my diet and you know, uh, so I could see, that I was keeping my calories down and, carbs were where they should be, etc. But I noticed the two things that happened along the way was, uh, my A1C got better and, my weight went down, not a lot, but a little bit. It was gradual and, uh, I'm thankful for that.
Like what were those other markers? What were those for you?
Okay. Uh, well, I could look on my APAP and see what the apnea events were, and were for the night, and I could see that it was going down, and then you know talking to Lisa and looking at your model, I would just reduce the uh, maximum air pressure. Uh, so I knew things were getting better, and that was probably the biggest thing. And then uh, I actually, uh, I didn't realize it, but with my APAP, I can get, 1 week, 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 6 month readings. No, maybe not 6 months, but up to 3 month averages. And, those uh, were coming down. And, I, when they started, on a weekly basis being under two, I was shocked and excited. Oh, the other thing that happened was uh, my blood pressure went down. I mean, I'm still taking meds, but the biggest thing was I when I would read my blood pressure at home, I'd get a good reading, 120 over 80. But when I'd go to the doctor, it would always be higher, and so they were telling me, oh, a lot of people do that. But somewhere along this in the program, when I went to my GP and they took my blood pressure at the beginning of, the exam. and it was like 120 over 80. And I was thinking, God, never been like that when I went to the doctor before. So, those kind of things, and then more daytime energy and that kind of thing. And I don't know if you want me to talk about this now, but uh, one of the big things for me was sleeping on my left side. I've always been a back sleeper. And uh, one of the final things to get me down to under two was sleeping on my left side. And so once I started doing that, I could, I would be under two consistently. And, but it also, with Lisa's help, it also helped me realize that I still needed to work on my tongue exercises, so that I could sleep on my back and, you know, have similar AHI numbers.
The AHI numbers. It's a
Oh,
marker of sleep apnea severity for everyone at home. So 5 to 15, mild, 15, 30, moderate, 30 plus, severe. Yeah, I did not provide perfect intervals, but that's not the point. The point is, it's a pretty objective measurement, and lower is better. Do you remember like what your pressure setting was, and then where it is now, and your results in AHI? Like, what were you at? Like, were you at like 14?
no, my max pressure was 20.
20. Okay, that's like you're
And
gonna
then,
go car tire with that.
yeah, but now, it's worked it all the way down to five. And
Hmm.
the minimum on the machine is four. So, uh, and my average air pressure when using the machine is like 4.5 now. And, and my the apnea events, AHI, is, on a nightly basis, it runs from zero point 0.5 to, zero point 0.2. And I'm amazed.
And then, in terms of actually feeling refreshed and all of that in like the days and the mornings and all, like how's that out now?
It's awesome. Yeah, one of the biggest things that I do is like get out within 10 minutes of the sun coming up. And because Cincinnati, it's cold
A
and,
little bit.
it's winter. So, yeah, and Lisa understands that being a Michigan girl. And so that's a big thing. And then I don't, uh, yeah, last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you know, I I rarely nap in the afternoon anymore. So that's hardly ever. Uh, so it's exciting.
Nice. Awesome. So very, very close to being machine free because you said you're at 4.5 pressure setting.
Yeah.
So 4 is the zero of PAP therapy. So James now to James back then when your buddies were like, you're snoring and you're in a doctor's office, first starting out with this. What would James now say to James then about, your sleep, your health, and all that?
I wish I had, found a program like yours a long time ago and started looking at alternatives to the CPAP, uh, because it's a lot of hassle and, it's, uh, the solution you offer works. I wish I'd found it years ago instead of now. I'm grateful that it's now. I'm thankful. And, but if I could have done it, 20 years ago, things, who knows how things would have gone, but
Mhm.
better for sure.
So thanks for joining me here, James, and to
You're
everyone
welcome.
out there. Just want to, give you more of that motivation and hope in your journey. right? Because especially if someone's like dependent on a CPAP, scared of getting off of it. That's why I wanted to, have James here because as a very good example of you can make tremendous progress while still using it and ultimately have that goal of getting off of it. Because I don't think I've asked a lot of people, do you have a goal of getting off your PAP? And like 99 times out of 100, they say yes. So if that's you, that's what the journey looks like and be able to get off it. So thanks for joining us here, James, and we'll go ahead and sign off. So bye, everyone, and thanks for watching.